Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Select Board, Monday, May 20th, 2024, Wacoit Meeting Room, Mashpee Town Hall, 16 Great Neck Road North, Mashpee, Mass. 02649, broadcast live on local cable channel 8, stream live on the Town of Mashpee website. And the time is 6:30. I'd like to convene the meeting in open session and start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I also have a moment of silence, please? Thank you. For minutes, we have discussion and approval of the following: Monday, April 29th, 2024, regular session and executive sessions.
So moved.
Second.
All right, for first and second, any discussion?
You doing both of them at the same time? Because
That was just a motion for the first two, and then I'll do the next.
He's not going to.
I'm going to recuse from one, so I didn't know if you could separate them, where I wasn't a party to the
Oh, okay, all
executive
right.
session.
So can we make the,
I can abstain from both if it's easier, just,
no, we could do, so can I have a motion for Monday, April 29th, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and second. Any discussion? Not hearing any? Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
David?
yes.
And I'm a yes. Monday, April 29th, 2024, executive session.
So moved. Second.
First and second. Any discussion? Not hearing any? Michaela?
Yes.
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 Recuse.
And I'm a yes. Okay, minutes for Monday, May 6th, 2024, regular session.
So moved.
Second.
First and second. And any discussion?
There's an error on page 3, the bottom. The vote isn't accurate. Okay, it's the very last vote. It should be Selectman Cotton, yes. Selectman Sherman, no. Selectman Whedon, yes. And Selectman Wyman Colombo, yes. Page 3. Recommend to approve Article 10 of the special town meeting warrant.
So Michaela, what was it? So,
I just said just for the accuracy, there's an error in the vote. Let me go back to it. It should, there was one no vote, and the no vote was Selectman Sherman, not
I
Select
see.
Board
So
Member Cotton.
so we're
That's-
swapped.
Yeah,
That's
Thank
correct,
you.
right, Carol?
Yes.
Yep. So I was a yes and I was a no. So on page 3, amended motion to approve minutes
So moved.
second.
with the change of I'm a yes and I'm a no on Carol's a no on bottom of page 3.
Thank you.
First and second, any discussion? Not hearing it. David?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
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 And I'm a yes. Good catch, Michaela. Let me see, appointments and hearings. Department of Public Works Director, Catherine Laurent. Discussions and approval of the following: award of annual contracts purchase of diesel and gasoline, Sprague Operating Resources.
Good evening. We recently opened bids with the county, so this is a bid that's done through Barnstable County for all of the municipalities on the Cape, and received our contract prices for FY25. I'm happy to report it is a decrease from our current fiscal year, so we're saving a little bit of money. The numbers that you have in front of you are the fuel price, we do have to add our state tax that we are still subject to, as well as some other incidental taxes. So it is a little bit higher than what the final amount is, than what's printed on the memo, but this would be for all of FY '25.
Not too many.
And
not
I
too
did
often.
authorize to communicate that to the respective people too, because we wanted to lock in.
Yes.
I see no,
I just have an informational question. And I know this won't matter, I'm just out of curiosity and for people's knowledge. What are the taxes and fees approximately per gallon?
So the state tax is about 20 cents, and then there are various environmental taxes, which total maybe another few cents on top of that, so maybe another 24 cents.
Thank you.
anybody have any questions?
Motion to accept and approve annual contracts purchase of diesel and gasolines, Sprague Operating Resources being awarded.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have first and second, any discussion? Not hearing any. David?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Next one up, end-of-year transfer request, $132,500 from DPW salaries to DPW expenses.
So as you may be aware, our line item for beach nourishment, we overspent this year. We had a number of storms that we had to respond to. So we were out actually 6 times this past year having to put sand down to re-nourish the beach. So I'm asking that the board approve a transfer from our salary line item. We had several vacancies over the course of the year, and allow that money to be transferred to pay the overage on the beach nourishment.
This is instead of seeking funds from the reserve fund, and I should point out that I've already visited the Finance Committee, and they did authorize that, so you're the next step in the process.
Motion to transfer end-of-year request presented by DPW Director in the amount of $132,500 from DPW salaries over to DPW expenses.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And David?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you. Oh, all right. 6:35, public hearing. New annual wine and malt beverage alcohol license, Uva Wine Bar, 2, 4 Market Street, Catherine Thayer, manager.
Where do you want us, here or there?
Yeah,
There's
you-
two of us.
To the meeting of the chair.
Can I have the,
Yep.
thanks, Carol.
Pursuant to the Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, subsection 16A, the Select Board, acting as the local licensing authority for the town of Mashpee, will conduct a public hearing on the application of UV Wine Bar 2 for a new annual wine and malt beverage restaurant license, 4 Market Street, Mashpee, Mass. 02649. Catherine Thayer, manager. The premises is described as 1,437 square feet on one level. The space includes a kitchen, dining area with seating for 32 customers, 2 bathrooms, and an office. Additional outdoor seasonal seating will accommodate up to 29 additional customers. Said hearing will be held Monday, May 20th, 2024, at 6:35 PM in the Wacoit Meeting Room at Mashpee Town Hall, 16 Great Neck Road North, Mashpee, Mass. Hi.
Hi. How are you? I'm Catherine there, and my business partner is Michelle Manware.
Okay.
Nice to see you. We opened Uva Wine Bar in Plymouth 5 years ago, and the time has come to expand, so we're excited to open a second location here in Mashpee Commons.
We think Mashpee would be a great fit for our concept and our, I think that the residents of Mashpee and the surrounding areas would really enjoy the concept, and it's sometimes hard. We hear in Plymouth, a lot of people have a hard time coming over the bridge to experience UVA. Sometimes they do, but they're like, you really need to come down to the Cape and expand down there. So here we are, and we're happy to answer any questions for you about our concept, because it is somewhat unique in comparison to other wine bar establishments and restaurants.
Yeah, if you want to take this opportunity, like, just explain how it's a little bit different, and
Yeah.
also, if approved tonight, do you have an intention, like a date plan to open?
We have great ideas. It all
It's all
depends
about
on the
construction.
construction.
Gotcha.
So yes, our aim is to open in July. So UVA is a self-serve wine bar. We have 12 self-serve dispensers, and each dispenser holds 4 different bottles of wine. So when people come into the wine bar, they're greeted at the front desk, where we card them if need be, and we open their tab and give them a wine card. And the wine card is used in the machines to dispense the wine. And you can get a 2-ounce, a 4-ounce, or a 6-ounce pour of any of the wines. And there is a control mechanism, so people don't just keep going up to the machines and serving themselves. We cap it off so it only serves a certain number of ounces per hour, and after that, it won't work. And then we also have staff on hand. We have people at the front, we have people on the floor who are constantly changing the wine bottles out throughout the night as they go empty, because you really only serve 4 to 5 glasses per bottle. And then we have people in the kitchen and bussing tables and that sort of thing as well.
Okay. Does anybody from the board have any questions?
Your outdoor seating, is that going to be in the back?
So there
Yeah.
are going to be 4 tables around the perimeter of the building, so right adjacent to the building on a
In the
bricked-
front.
in the front. And then to the side of the building that's adjacent to the parking lot, there's a small grassy area that we intend to fence in, that they are allowing us to use. Thank you.
And those will have like Adirondack chairs and fire pits and that sort of thing as well.
Anybody from the public have anything to add? Any,
Only concerns I have is the drawing A1, it's not drawn to scale, so I think it's a little, there's no scales on it. So I assume it's not drawn to scale. My concern is that, there was another establishment that was before us, the Raw Bar, down the other end of that same road.
I know what you're talking about.
And
Are you talking about for outdoor dining or indoor? Or both?
my concern is that the sidewalk there, on this drawing, it looks pretty substantial. Looking at aerial photos, the building looks really close to the
Yeah.
curb cut.
So we've definitely done a
So-
walkthrough with the people at Mashpee to make sure that we have that 36-inch ADA.
But my concern is where you're on a throughway through the marketplace, the commons. I'd like to see some sort of protection, whether planter boxes or something like that, around where the people are seating. And
will be,
that's not
definitely.
shown here. And the drawing, where it's not to scale, it's hard to envision that.
Yeah.
Based on the,
And we do have that
drawing.
now. When we submitted for this liquor license, it was before we had that schematic that showed where the posts and the barriers were gonna be and fencing. But definitely, because for ABCC compliance, we have to be contained. So we would definitely have the fencing, a mix of fencing and the rope
The
barriers.
the stanchions that separate it from the public walkway. So
Yeah.
it'll be in direct connection with the front door.
I would feel more comfortable seeing those things, you know what I mean, just myself, for future reference.
I have a vision board that I've created for the outdoor space, that we submitted to the development group at Mashpee Commons that outlines it. It's still somewhat difficult when you see the stanchions to put it into perspective. But we did measure, but I can certainly forward that entire schematic to you.
But so that is part of the, because I thought this came up when you brought it up last time for
For
the
the
other.
fish store, yeah.
But it is part of, I thought, the ABCC application, correct? I think it's part of
Yes.
Yes.
their approval process. But
It has to be separated, but it's good to see it.
I know, no, you're right.
And in the drawing, where it's not to scale, I mean, you can see how big the chairs and tables are on the grassy area opposed to the rest of
Yeah.
the items listed, you know, it's not to scale. And so I question the amount of curb and sidewalk to be able to do this on the front side. They do have them tucked right up against the building, so you probably can get it, but
Yeah, we've-
your planter boxes are gonna be right on top of the curb, right at the edge of the curb, I imagine. Looking at aerial photos.
No, we need 36 inches for a walkway in front of the building, because it is a public right-of-way.
Yes.
So we have taken that into consideration along the shrubs, along the grassy area, and then going around, and then also in front of the building and around. So the stanchions would be set back at least 36 inches from the edge of the curb.
If not significantly more, if
Yeah.
I remember measuring it correctly.
Stanchions don't sound as protective as like planters. You know,
So the
stanchions, when I
ABCC,
think of
yeah.
stanchions, I think of ropes and chains. And
Right.
I don't see that protecting a vehicle jumping the curb and hitting folks, where planters do offer some sort of protection. So that's kind of what I was saying with the other place, is that, you know, I'd like to see something that's protecting people as they sit, where there's a throughway right there adjacent to you. That's just my own perspective.
I remember that. I remember I did Estia a few years back, and we did do that. We made wood boxes.
Planter boxes.
Yeah,
basically.
wood planter box.
And we took the pocket spaces for the most part.
Right,
They were
so
limited.
in Plymouth, we do have those wood planter boxes, because
Yeah,
because they're
but it was-
parklets, you have to, because you're actually in the
We
street.
ended up taking the parking spaces.
Yeah, that's what we do in Plymouth as
You're
well.
gonna take the parking spaces?
No, I'm saying in Plymouth, at our existing location in Plymouth, we have parklets where we take 2 parking spots. And we have built-out planter boxes, because you're in the street, you need protection there. You're not on the sidewalk. When you're on the sidewalk, the ABCC requires that you have just a barrier,
Yeah.
whether it be rope or,
But I
something.
agree with the information that we're discussing now, because I think you're right, it is a concern, because the narrowing of the walkway.
But
And we'll see, I'd like to see the plans, but I don't have a problem, but it has to be safe, just as a walking.
right, yeah.
Yeah, I can envision the doors opening and reducing any walking. I don't know how many parking spaces you'll take or.
It's not in a
affect.
parking spot at
Oh,
all.
it's not even a parking spot?
No, it's on the
It's on a corner.
sidewalk, so it's on the corner space, so it's a very wide sidewalk, it's bricked.
All right, but
And
that's.
they-
So it's
as long
not
as
in the
provide
street,
a
it's on the
clear
sidewalk.
access, I don't have a real problem with it, but having some type of, not the loop chain or anything, but something a little bit more, a little stronger.
Yeah,
This is that area transitioning from Market Street South to Market Street North, you know, over there by LL Bean. And so, you know, the side that they're on is traffic coming out and going across over to the Stop and Shop side. So there's no parking spaces along that curb cut at all. But, I mean, you know, I just want to be consistent, you know, I asked it of the other folks, and so I want to make sure that I'm being fair and it's across the board.
Yeah.
just keep that under
Yeah.
consideration.
definitely
and,
take that, yeah, under advisement.
No, I'm not-
Can I, does anybody have any other questions?
I got one more. Sorry. Did I from the audience?
Yeah, public hearing.
Can you come up to the,
Oh, it's for them.
yeah, but you gotta identify yourself and,
Will you be serving food?
Yes.
oh. All right,
Talk about that a
See you in
little
July.
bit. It's not a full kitchen. So it's designed for a wine bar. So we have a build-your-own cheese and charcuterie board, dips and chips, flatbread pizzas, and desserts that are made by a local pastry chef.
Mr. Collins, I think you had,
I was just going to point out, Mr. Chair, if the board would feel more comfortable, we can get an approval from you once you close the public hearing. If you did approve it, conditional upon inspection by the fire chief, police chief, building commissioner, to have the adequate barriers in place before it's signed off. If
they
that,
meet their
Yes, if that's what you were comfortable with.
I would only ask that they also present a scale drawing with showing whatever measures are being taken, drawn on the scale drawings, for the record.
Yep. And I was just suggesting that only for the sole purpose of their timeline and trying to move things along,
Yeah.
if you were inclined to do that.
Yep. I'd be good with that. Can I have a
A
motion?
motion to close the public hearing?
We can do
Second.
that.
All in favor of closing the public hearing? Carol?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
A motion to approve the new annual wine and malt beverage alcohol license, UV Bar 2 at 4 Market Street. Catherine Thayer, manager, with the conditions of the fire chief,
Board of Health
Board of Health,
and
and
Police Department.
building
And building
commissioner,
commissioner.
examining your outdoor space.
Yep.
They're concerned with the road.
Yeah.
All right, I'll second that.
And do we have end submission of a scale drawing? Yeah, could we add that to,
For the record.
For the record.
Makes sense.
okay. Second.
Yes. All right, Michaela.
Oh,
Any
yes.
further discussion? Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Okay.
thank you.
Congratulations.
Luck,
Thank you,
ladies.
thank you.
Discussion and approval of the new annual, that's it?
No.
Same one. 640 public hearing, private and public road conversion, Watson Drive.
Pursuant to the Town of Mashpee General Bylaw subsection 150-6.d, the Select Board will conduct a public hearing on Monday, May 20th, 2024, at 6:40 PM to address the private to public road conversion of Watson Drive in Mashpee, Mass., as shown on plans entitled Road Taking Plan, Watson Drive, dated January 23rd, 2024, and prepared by Cape and Islands Engineering. Said hearing will take place in the Walcoit Meeting Room at Mashpee Town Hall, 16 Great Neck Road North, Mashpee, Mass. Copies of the plan may be viewed in the office of the Town Manager and Select Board at Mashpee Town Hall.
Thank you, Carol. Is anybody here from Watson Drive that would like to speak?
Good turnout.
First up? Please state your name and identify your address, too.
Yeah, Steve McDonald, 30 Watson Drive.
Okay?
We put in the petition to take our road from a public road and make it into make it from private to a public road. I've been on Watson Drive for coming up on 34 years. And we, over the years, we've had issues with plowing. We've had issues with utility work that's been done, and some of the utility work's done some damage to the road. We don't have an association. There's only 11 homes on Watson Drive. So therefore, it's just, as I'm looking into the future, I think it behooves us as residents to make sure that our road is adequately taken care of in the future. None of us are getting any younger. So, I've had, over the years, when it hasn't been plowed, it's been difficult getting in and out of our road. I will say that Catherine and her crew have been very good the last, probably 8-10 years of plowing our road. She's done a great job. Anytime that there was problems with tree branches, the neighbors would get together and take them down and things like that. So we put it in the petition just because we're trying to get our road so that it's not in bad shape now, but it as I look into the future, things are only going to fail for us. And then the other question is, we have the sewer project coming into town. And for a private road, it just makes us really concerned that how that's going to affect the road and the residents. Because like I said earlier, we don't have an association, we don't have any representation when the work gets done. So I think that if it becomes a town-owned road, we'll be adequately protected.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Whoever would like to speak next?
Everybody's in favor.
So I'm assuming everybody else is in favor, or there's no one opposed? Okay. Can it, just, if you, yeah, just your name and address, just so it's for the,
So I'm Demetrius Bacrellis, 12 Watson Drive. How are you? Good to see you all. So yeah, I've been living there for 2 years with my family, and it's true, there can be, no one really looks after that street, you know, and I'm probably the youngest one there, so they may expect me to do all the shoveling. So it's a scary place for me to be. It's a lot of driveways. So yeah, I agree with Steve wholeheartedly, and it's a great little neighborhood, but it'd be nice to have some town support over there. You know, we're off of a pretty major road where the schools are, so I think they're in that area anyways plowing. So we're not in the middle of nowhere. So yeah,
okay. Thank you.
thanks, John.
Somebody else?
Sure.
I'm not the youngest on the street. Not the oldest.
You're kidding.
Elaine Frontiero, 20 Watson Drive, and I've only been living here for not even 2 years. And I already love the community in the area, but the street is disgusting. First of all, I didn't know it was a private way when I bought the house, but it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. When it rains, you can barely get down the street. And I have to work, my son has to get to work, so and other people, and it's dangerous to get in and out of that street. So am I happy about the cost? No, because I am still working, and I can hope to continue to work until the brain's no longer functional. But anyway, it's a lot of money. My concerns are what's going to be involved as far as the time frame once they get started. Is it going to drag on, or are they going to be able to go in there? Not, you know, we have to take into consideration the weather, obviously. But hopefully, it's going to be a project that if it gets approved and it moves forward, it's not going to take forever to get it done, and it's going to be done correctly. And if they can put a street light, I'd be even happier.
All right, thank you. Anybody opposed? Okay.
A motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? David?
Yes.
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 And I'm a yes.
A motion to approve private to public road conversion, Watson Drive.
First, do I have a second?
Second.
First and second, any discussion?
Wait a minute, hold on.
This is not up for a vote by the board.
okay.
This is just the next step in the petition process. So if the residents want to move the project forward, they would contact the town manager's office, who would give them the language for the second petition that would have to be signed. The deadline, I think, for October is the second Monday in July.
July.
If you submit the petition by that date, it would be on for the October town meeting. Which
So that's
would-
when we would have to,
so-
then we'd vote.
And then it would be on the warrant for your.
Awesome.
Before Catherine leaves, I have a question. Especially when I heard the residents talk about rainfall and how much water was on the street, making it difficult to drive in and out. Has that amount of water been accounted?
Yes, so we do have a sizable drainage budget as part of our investigation. We did notice a sizable puddle that is on the street. So we are proposing to add additional drainage, and I know I'll speak to the property owners after this, but we are taking some additional easement area in order to provide that additional drainage.
Thank you very much.
What are the conditions of the existing catch basins?
We generally, I mean, we've looked at them. It's not something, as they've noted, they don't have an association that has had an ongoing maintenance. So we generally assume that they've failed. So it will be new drainage that will be installed on the road.
Oh, at all the catch basin locations?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
That's helpful.
Awesome.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you, Catherine. Appreciate that information.
So the 6:45 public hearing, new annual wine and malt beverage alcohol license, Steeple Street Music Academy, Inc., 40 Steeple Street, Demetrius Bacrellis, manager.
Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 138, subsection 16A, the Select Board, acting as the local licensing authority for the town of Mashpee, will conduct a public hearing on the application of Steeple Street Music Academy, Inc., for a new annual wine and malt beverage restaurant license, 40 Steeple Street, Mashpee, Mass. Demetrius Berkelis, manager. The premise is described as 3,000 square feet on one floor. Alcohol will be sold, served in an area consisting of 1,100 square feet, 13 rooms total. Said hearing will be held on Monday, May 20th, 2024, at 6:45 in the Warquoit Meeting Room, Mashpee Town Hall. Good evening.
Thanks for having me back up.
We'd like to just tell us a little bit about what you're looking to do, and
Sure. So currently, if you're familiar with the building, a lot of people in this town have been in there because it used to be Emerald Physicians. So the right side of the building, where it's the single rooms, are the teaching rooms for the Music Academy during the day. The left-hand side, the 1,100 square foot area, is now a performance space where we'll have open mics, little theater shows, type of thing. So we thought we'd move forward with getting some sort of beverage license for that. It's pretty simple setup. The seating is very similar to this, so it's an audience stadium style seating. So it's there's no tables or anything, but yeah.
anybody from the board have any questions before I check with the public?
No? Okay.
Anybody from the public have anything to state? Not any?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second. First and second.
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
I read your story in the paper. It was a nice story.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we were pretty honored to have that printed, so that was really.
A motion to approve the annual wine and malt beverage alcohol license, Steeple Street Music Academy, Inc., 40 Steeple Street, Demetrius.
Second.
Manager.
First and second, any discussion?
I do have questions.
Sure.
Essentially, it's around the application. So a few, as I was reading through it, there was a few concerns that I have because some of the stuff, the lease that's attached, the language that's in there that describes the lease, it actually refers to the operation as a bowling alley. And so I didn't
Yeah,
understand it.
that's odd. It's never been a bowling alley.
And so that had me confused.
Yeah.
The signature
I don't blame
page,
you.
somebody signed it, but the information underneath to identify who that person, the title and position of that person, that wasn't signed, so that threw me off.
Okay.
The bylaws that are attached refer to it towards the back end as being a nonprofit. And so I looked up the Articles of Organization, and it's a for-profit. That brought up another concern where it's identified as the use and function of the corporation, as the Articles of Organization state is music, arts, and education. Then, moving on to the attached drawings, the attached code review. When I blew that up, that says that you operate a daycare.
Oh, no.
And so
Yeah,
it
that's-
had
I
me
don't
thrown
blame you,
off
yeah.
because I'm like, what are we approving?
Babies and beer, yeah.
Liquor and wine and alcohol with a daycare and a bowling alley in there.
I
It
don't-
really,
yeah,
and when you
thanks
do
for that.
code, when you do
Blow that
code
up.
review, it's heavily reliant on the use. It has to be interpreted by the use as critical. So that threw me, I didn't know why this was attached if it's, says it, because it suggests there's a daycare there.
Yeah.
And, with the education component and everything else, I'm just,
So,
there was a lot of different things that kind of red flagged.
yes,
Thank
so
you for taking the time to
Hold on.
read it.
my name is Catherine Becrellis. I'm Demetrius's wife and co-owner.
So part of that is we used to have a preschool program, and that was before we opened the preschool program, we went through some renovations of the space. And that was our most recent, the blueprints that were made up were referring to the space as a daycare or preschool. So that was our most recent blueprint after the renovations. It is no longer a daycare or preschool. And it has fully transitioned into a performance space.
So it's called the listening room. So it's actually almost like a black box theater type of situation. And the whole thing in itself is sort of a shrunken version of the Katuitt Arts Center, really. So that room specifically is blocked off from the rest of the academy. It's all in one space, but there's a door blocking it from the kitchen in between that side and the music academy side. So, yeah, it's not a preschool. What was the other? There was some other.
There was a nonprofit
The
situation.
nonprofit, yeah.
So, the bylaws, actually, we are currently a for-profit. We are an S corp, but we are in the process of going nonprofit. So the bylaws have been updated in order to do that. We're currently being
Waiting for the IRS,
considered
basically.
by the IRS as tax exempt.
But have you submitted the bylaw change to the Secretary Galvin's office where the articles of organizations live?
Yeah, we're going through that entire process now. So all of those things have been,
Because I didn't see the filings for any kind of changes or amendments to organizational structure, use,
all of that
or
is not
bylaws.
finalized yet.
Well, there is, because when we got the change of seating and the occupancy permit,
Oh.
then they changed the use of the actual space. For that specific space, the room where would actually serve the alcohol in. But, in order to get the seating, they went through that process.
So the drawing that's attached for code review, it doesn't reflect it doesn't identify where the alcohol is going to be served. There's nothing really showing where that's going to
That's the latest.
be. So, for consideration purposes, I'd like to see where that space is going to be, the separation between where the academy does the teaching part, and things like that on a scale drawing would be helpful, just for me to envision and fully consider approving the project proposal.
Is it going to be similar to the Katuitt Center because that has alcohol, I believe, through the whole
Right, yeah.
establishment,
It's a
so
very, I mean, it's, like I said.
I'm not,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because Katuitt Center, they have alcohol, and it's throughout the
But I
whole-
think it's events, it's during the events, and I guess the part that has me a little hesitant is, if it's a training academy, like the hours that the alcohol served opposed to when kids are in there learning or going to sessions for
Yeah,
training.
yeah.
That part, I just would like to have definitive kind of parameters around that to feel comfortable with it. Just
Yeah. So it's.
exercising air on a side of caution, that's all.
Yeah, well, it should. Our lessons typically happen in the afternoon and usually end around 6:30, 7 o'clock. Any performances we have are probably gonna start around 8 o'clock. 7:30, I'd say, possibly. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what else to really.
It is a totally separate space. It's enclosed, which is why it was suitable as a daycare or preschool, because as you're probably aware, the state is very particular about
That being part of
yeah,
another
locked
entity.
doors, things being totally separate, the public is unable to come in. So the only opportunities that people have to go into that space are when we physically open it up. So the Music Academy students don't have access to it unless we specifically open it up to them.
And that's when you're going to serve
Yes.
in that area,
Right, it would be just in that area.
that area.
So on this code review drawing, is it the largest space or second largest space?
The largest space in the front.
Which is the 1,100 square feet that's
There's a-
referred to.
There's a water closet, a water,
I don't think it shows a water closet.
You want me to point it?
Yeah, if you,
Is that all right?
because I'm wondering,
It doesn't show a whole lot.
Sorry about that. I didn't. Yeah, so, yeah, that's what it's on for. So, yeah, so basically, this,
you can't read anything.
this is.
In most of these drawings, you can't.
That's the kitchen, and that's the academy is here. Okay, and then the concerts across the street on
On the
the
green.
bandstand. We're gonna provide this space as a green room for those artists, so they have somewhere to be in general, but that's a side note. But yeah, this is where it would be, and there's a little, right here, which is where we probably have, it's a small shelving where we'd serve alcohol. It's such a small scale thing just to offer people beverages. I don't want that to be like the focus, it's not like a main focus for us. You know, we just wanna have music and provide people with opportunity for a wine up here if they want it. I don't see it being,
I'm comparing it to the, like, when you go to Katuah Center for the Art, that's what they have. They have the little small bar area and you,
I hear nothing but great things about your establishment. You know, just reading through it, there was some red flags that
everything you
just
said
kind of jumped
totally
out.
made sense, I get it.
and then the bowling alley, I'm guessing, that's just a
Bowling alley really
typo
threw me
with,
off.
I would, yes.
that's with Mashpee
I know
Commons.
nothing about
I'm sure
operating
they,
a bowling alley yet.
oops.
No, that was kind of, I was
That's
just
what happens
looking
when
for
you
the
copy all
dedicated
the
space.
leases,
And,
right?
you know, I would
I would
suggest
guess.
having kind of drawings that actually depict where things are, you know, what location of where the sales of the alcohol will be. That kind of information I feel is pertinent
Yeah.
for
The way
us to see.
Yeah, it's, now there's a stage right here, like a small stage, and there's just seats like here in this area here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is small. We have a little, sort of jumping on what we did buy a little bar top, like a IKEA type of thing. Sell T-shirts there now, should this not get approved, but this is where it would be in this area here. There's a restroom right here, and yeah, pretty simple, pretty small situation, I'd say, but just want to provide the people the, you know, if we have Irish session that we want to have there also, they can't
You want
play
the-
music without a beer.
The Irish beer.
It doesn't sound the same.
It's very it's contained, that room.
But yeah, because we are a music academy, we take responsibility of keeping it the safest place possible. And to become a preschool, we really had to go quite the distance to make that happen anyways, originally. So if there's any two people that can be responsible with that type of license, I would say it's my wife and I for sure. Yeah, because we don't want any bad publicity. Yeah, so
No, if I relate this to the Katuah Center, I understand it, and that's not even sectioned off, and they use it for events. But I do understand your, you know, especially from bowling alley to this and that, it's like,
Yeah.
I get it, you know, but most of those mistakes are, you know, pretty much, they're not your mistakes, they're,
right.
those were John Wren or Mashpee Commons, so.
Yeah, we'll talk to John about that.
And the bar would be set up and taken down for each event? I mean, the alcohol in the bar.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
It would not.
Yeah, well, the bar itself is, it's an IKEA on wheels type of
Okay.
situation. They can
Yeah.
roll away into the kitchen and, yeah, just, and it wouldn't be appropriate for certain events also, you know, yeah, it wouldn't be for everything, and just to offer it during certain shows that we feel it's appropriate. So, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we got a first and a second. Any further discussion? All right, we have first, second. Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Yes.
Carol?
I'm going to abstain, just.
Okay, and I'm a yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you.
means the world. Thank you. Great. You've all been very helpful. Thank you.
You got it. I don't know why it's listed twice on these. Department of Natural Resources Director Ashley Fisher. You're hiding over there behind the stanchion.
Good evening. So I'm here tonight to share with you the progress that we've made through the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program and the grants received to the town for Santuit Town Landing and concept designs for stormwater infrastructure and improvements to the area. I have here Eric Moss from Fuss & O'Neill, who's our hired consultant in the engineering and design work that has been done for the concept design. And we're here to really just gain your blessing and approval to move forward and hoping to receive funding for FY 2025. So with that, bring it up. And Eric.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Eric Moss. I'm with Fuss & O'Neill. I'm a water resources engineer. And tonight, I'm going to give you a brief update on our work for the town on Santuit Pond and the stormwater and water quality improvements at the town landing site in particular. I think this is a PDF and I have to scroll. So I'm going to just give you a brief overview about some of the work at Santuit Pond, looking at some of the nutrient sources, stormwater sources there, give a brief overview of our completed and ongoing work at this site, and then show you some of the concept and design work for the town landing site, and then talk about some of the next steps, including a grant that we helped the town apply for in April. So as most of you are aware, there are really two major sources, categories of sources of nutrients to Santuit Pond that are responsible for some of the water quality issues that the pond experiences. There are the internal sources, which is really the bulk of the phosphorus and the nutrients to the pond, and that accounts for about 80% of that annual phosphorus input from the sediments that are sitting at the bottom of the pond. The other sources are what we refer to as external sources, and these include things like stormwater runoff, which accounts for about 13% of the nutrient inputs to the pond, and also septic systems, another 5%. So our work has been focused on the stormwater inputs, those external sources of runoff, stormwater runoff to the pond, the sediment, the nutrients that are attached to the sediments. So as I mentioned, we've been working with the town, with Ashley and Natural Resources, also with Department of Public Works and other town staff over the past few years, focused on addressing the stormwater runoff inputs to the pond and trying to reduce and control those sources of nutrients. And we've been working with the town since FY22 on 3 grant-funded projects. These are all kind of related to the town landing site. In 2022, we helped the town acquire what's referred to as a Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness, or MVP grant from the state. And that first grant was to conduct an initial, developed initial concepts for retrofits for stormwater at the town landing site to address some of the issues you see here on the screen in terms of erosion of the driveway, some of those sediment inputs from stormwater runoff from down on the town landing itself, and trying to reduce those stormwater inputs to the pond. In 2023, in 2022, what we developed is an initial concept for stormwater improvements at the town landing site. So a number of stormwater basins, bioretention systems at the site. In 2023, the next MVP grant was to do some stakeholder engagement. So we actually worked with the town, reaching out to the residents of around the pond in the neighborhoods, did a survey, had some meetings, and kind of drilled down into what the folks wanted to see for town landing, not only the stormwater improvements, but other types of improvements to the site to improve water quality, but also to provide some amenities at the site. And then this year in 2024, the town received another grant to basically take that concept, that refined concept, and take that to a permit level design and submit permit applications, which is what we're working on right now, wrapping that work up. The town also received from Mass DEP a water quality management planning grant in 2024 to look at the wetland area on the south side of the town landing site. It's a heavily impacted area, and so there's some grant funding to look at restoring that for improved water quality, treatment, and also to improve the habitat in that section of the site. So this here is the concept that we developed about a year ago. And this is really the basis for the design work that we're currently working on right now. And so what I've shown here are the major elements of the improvements at the town landing site. The first is stormwater improvements. So there are several new stormwater basins, bioretention areas, a stormwater wetland on the southern portion of the site, just south of the driveway down by the town landing. We're also proposing porous asphalt up in a new parking area along Timberlane Drive. So that would essentially provide some dedicated parking for trailers and also for vehicles, 4 spaces for vehicles and 4 spaces for vehicles pulling trailers, boat trailers, to park. There's also some bioswales along the side of the driveway entrance, and really the idea is to try to capture the stormwater runoff from the site, treat it, infiltrate it to the extent that we can before it discharges to the pond. There are also some proposed shoreline enhancements, so I'm proposing some vegetation around the shoreline itself to create more of a buffer that also filters out pollutants and provides some habitat around the shoreline. There's a pollinator garden proposed down in the lower part of the town landing site. I mentioned the relocated parking up along Timberlane Drive. Another key feature is a gated entrance and paving the driveway to kind of reduce some of that erosion of the existing gravel drive. And also the gated entrance would provide some more control, try to keep folks off the site after hours and limit the access to the site. We're also providing some recreational amenities for the site, so incorporating a kayak and canoe launch down on the eastern tip of the site. The existing boat ramp on the north portion of the site would remain, so that would remain a boat ramp for both the town boating and other folks that are accessing the site currently for use with boating. We're also proposing fishing at key areas around the perimeter of the town landing site, and there's even a seasonal fishing platform that's proposed, again, on that eastern end of the site. There's a number of interpretive signs that will be installed at the site. Currently, I think there's 1 sign there now, but the signs would focus on things like water quality, stormwater management, the cultural aspects of the tribe and the importance of the site to the tribe, and also just in terms of water quality, the importance of sites like this, to the pond itself. And then we also are showing several trails that would connect up with other portions of the site up to the roadway. There's also an access point to the south along Timberlane Drive. These trails would go along the shoreline, but also up through the woods and provide folks with an opportunity to kind of have that experience of walking along Santuit Pond and experiencing it from a different perspective. So this site here would tie into that trail network. And there's also some art installation that would be proposed. If the grant is awarded next fiscal year, the tribe would be working on developing some artwork that kind of integrates the cultural aspects and the importance of this site to the tribe. In terms of next steps, as I mentioned, we are finishing up the permit level design work, and so we'll be finishing that design and then submitting a notice of intent to the Conservation Commission by the end of June of this year. And that would be reviewed, and we anticipate an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission sometime during the summer. And then the town, as I mentioned, submitted about a month ago now the FY25 MVP grant application, which is pending. And that would be for essentially developing construction documents, the public bidding process, and then construction of these improvements at the site. The grant would reimburse 90% of the total project cost, which, good news, this year the state increased the state's share from 75% to 90%. So it's a great opportunity to leverage that state funding. And then in terms of timing, if the grant is awarded, the bidding process would occur over the winter, and then construction would be occurring in the spring and fall of 2025. And then the last thing to point out is that there would be ongoing community engagement, which has taken place over the past 3 years, really between the town, the tribe, the residents of the neighborhood, and that would continue with the FY25 MVP Action Grant. So that is all I had. Are there any questions about the project to date or the grant that we're proposing?
I have a few, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So Access Drive, is that all going to be paved?
Yeah, that's,
That's all going to be
yeah, it
paved?
would be traditional pavement. The parking lot along Timberlane would be porous asphalt, so that would allow water to infiltrate into the ground.
That's what I'm just,
Yeah.
because right now, I'm like, why would you make a slide so when heavy rain, it could just, that's going to be prevented, okay? And you mentioned on the east side, so that's no longer a ramp, that's going to be now a fishing area on the east side?
Yeah, that's proposed as a combined seasonal fishing platform, which could be, put in and taken out at the end of the season, but also as a kayak and canoe launch area.
Okay. And I'll kind of go backwards on this question, but back on the grant part, is this, none of this happens if the grant doesn't get approved?
Correct.
Okay. So that leads me to my next question is, we're adding a parking lot to Santuit Pond to park boats and trailers, or cars and trailers, that you're gonna launch boats that you can't go in the water with.
That's not necessarily true. It's a 10 horsepower restriction.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm just thinking about how many, I mean, I live right there on Santuit Pond, and it's just, I mean, I love the idea that the grant is paying, potentially paying 90% of it. I'm not a big fan of adding a big parking lot. Is that little parking lot, I know it's 4 or 5 spots with cars and trailers. Does that have to be a pervious parking lot? Can that be, like a couple, maybe a little gravel and not so, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We're adding a parking lot where I don't think it's necessary. I'd prefer to see a little gravel there and, I don't know. Anybody else have any?
I think it might be helpful if we asked to describe the parking lot and why you chose that design and how it'll improve the area.
Sure. Yeah, the original concept that's shown here actually has eight spaces for trailers. And what we've done is, in the current design we're working on, is to scale that back to 4. So those 4 remaining spaces would be the 4 furthest to the south, to avoid some of the grading that would be required to accommodate the 8 spaces. So the idea is to provide, a few spaces dedicated for trailers and boats, and then a few spaces just for vehicles. The thinking that use of porous asphalt, which again is a harder surface, but allows the water to filter through the asphalt itself, through the void spaces in the asphalt, would essentially reduce the runoff, but still control some of that erosion that would occur in a just a pure gravel parking surface. Would also be proposing stormwater management, some bioretention and some stormwater basins for the runoff that ends up coming off of that parking lot. So what doesn't go through the porous asphalt would be captured in some stormwater basins and then managed as it kind of goes down, down the hill, down the site, with some other stormwater basins. The one basin that's shown at the southern corner of the site, down at the bottom of the site, essentially, that's number 6 on this on the legend there. What we're looking at there is a stormwater wetland. So because we have very high groundwater, it's difficult to use, kind of your traditional bioretention, because the groundwater is essentially 2 feet, below the ground surface. So that would actually be a stormwater wetland where it would have kind of a design would incorporate a wet bottom, vegetation, plants that would filter and treat the runoff. But that would sort of capture the runoff coming down the rest of the driveway, and also capture the runoff on that lower portion of the town landing area where there's the turnaround proposed.
So the end of the landing where it's like, it looks like maybe number 5, if that's correct, right in the middle?
Yep.
So there's no longer, you wouldn't have any more trailers like on the shoulders, and so all the trailers would be down
In the parking lot.
in the parking lot?
Correct.
Okay, all right. That kind of makes sense, because I do remember, I still only remember ever seeing, unless it's one of those fishing tournaments, which I believe is once a year maybe. I've never seen any more than two, but, in my life.
Yes.
But,
So, may I?
you sure?
I participated in the informational session and the cleanup, and at that time, I mean, it was noticeable the amount of runoff that was coming down, even from the, as soon as you got off on the side of the runway, the runoff was, as I said, noticeable to the eye without any training.
Right.
How is this project going to eliminate some of that runoff? Because I imagine that's detrimental to the
Right.
health of the pond.
Yeah, we're looking to capture the runoff coming off of the driveway. We have two options we're looking at right now. One is in a swale, so kind of a surface swale. Try to get that runoff, collect that, get it into a swale with some check dams and some vegetation, infiltrate, what can be infiltrated as it kind of travels in that swale. The other option may be looking at, putting in some drainage, either a catch basin, midway down the driveway, ultimately conveying all that down to that stormwater wetland that's shown on number 6 in that area right now. But yeah, the idea is to catch all of that and kind of alleviate some of that runoff and the erosion that's currently occurring on the gravel drive right now.
So would you have the runoff there at, is it 3 and 6 right across, they're across from each other?
Yeah, there's also
Is that-
another proposed basin kind of to the south of the proposed parking area. There's a bioretention area that's shown, I think it's number 6, also another basin, trying to capture some of that runoff that comes off of the parking area, what doesn't infiltrate. So it really kind of using a stepped approach to manage some of that water as it kind of progresses down the hill.
Thank you. I'm glad that the entrance will be gated. Trash tells a story, and if there's any indication when we were there for the cleanup, a lot of people are using it after hours for drinking and just basically making a mess. So I'm glad it's going to be gated. I think that's really important. I just want to come away with this, that first of all, it looked beautiful, and seeing the design at the site made it even more real. But I just want to reinforce the idea, the goal of this is the ultimate goal, besides the convenience and the way it's going to look. The ultimate goal is to address the runoff.
Right.
Thank you so much.
For myself, I like the graphics shown, the permeable pavers for the parking lot. I am wondering if that entire Town Landing access drive is going to be the same kind of materials to pave that.
Yeah, we did consider using a permeable material for the driveway itself. The one issue is that because it's steep, the permeable pavement is not as effective because water tends to go pretty quickly, on that surface and doesn't have a chance to infiltrate into it. So right now we're looking at using just traditional, regular, asphalt for the driveway itself, and going with the permeable material for the parking lot up along the road.
I mean, couldn't you do like swales or speed bumps to service swales to kind of direct it to the edge where you can control it and reroute it and things of that nature? I do have concern because of the grade change being as steep as it is, as to John's point, the water coming straight down there, and it's going to pick up velocity, especially in high volume rain events. I would prefer permeable barrier permeable pavers along the entirety of that area and even the landing, just to hope that it, some of the stuff kind of leaches in the ground and filters before getting into the water table, but I'm not an engineer, so.
We are also looking at, like you said, either using like water bars or leak offs that they're called, to kind of take some of that flow coming down the driveway and breaking it up and directing it to the side, off to one side or the other, and either putting that into a swale or having a leak off, at some point, before it reaches the wetlands to the south in that area. So, yeah, right now we're kind of focused on that piece of the design in terms of the drainage for the driveway, how to manage that water. One of the challenges is that I think on one of the photos earlier on, you can see that the driveway, it's almost cut into the existing grade on both sides. So there's not a lot of room, along the side of the driveway. So one of the challenges is kind of squeezing in that drainage into that tight space without, raising the grade of the driveway and doing massive cuts or fills and grading on the site.
I mean, I've seen it, it literally is like a river. And it's these torrential rains we've had, I mean, probably half a dozen times this past year. It's a high-speed river. And to Michaela's point, it's real. There's gotta be, again, above my pay grade as well. So, I just hope you take that into consideration, because if you don't have something to catch this, all we're doing is gonna build a nice slide, and the water it's gotta go somewhere before it hits the water. So,
Yeah, and I think some of these, the swales and the design takes into consideration climate change and the increased rainfall. So hopefully we can design them to size for the increased rainfall events that we do have. It's really dependent on the groundwater and what we can actually do on the site.
I guess another thing that comes to mind is up on that higher end, closer to Timberlane, the tribe, we did the permeable asphalt over there on Powell Road, and in that area, they actually used the pervious asphalt where they essentially did a leach field under it. I mean, they went down 6 feet and restructured it. It's a leach pit underneath of the entirety of that road.
Yep.
And I didn't know if an approach like that would work. I mean, the velocity on this, I don't know that it would work. But if you were to redirect to the lower elevation side of the road, and then allowed it somehow to weep into like that type of system, would that offer any additional mitigation, doing some approach like that?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to, that's the idea behind using a swale and having it essentially act as an infiltration swale or a linear infiltration system. The soils are pretty good, actually, until you get down to that lower elevation, where obviously you have high groundwater and it's a little more challenging to get water into the ground. But higher up, we did some test pits in the proposed parking lot, and also I think 1 or 2 locations along the driveway, and there were decent soils. Separation of groundwater was pretty good. So I think you're going to get more infiltration the higher up on the site that you are. So that's kind of our goal, is to infiltrate as much water as we can before it gets into that chute and down the hill.
That's all I had.
So you're looking for approval of municipal vulnerability preparedness grant, Santuit Pond Town Landing Design. Can I have a motion to,
So moved.
Second.
first and second? Any discussion? Not hearing any? David?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. It does look very cool.
Yeah, I think.
Don't
that
get all the
residents-
questions as,
Yeah.
it's not negative by any means, it's,
No
it
problem.
looks pretty amazing. Next up,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe Natural Resources Department Federal Clean Water Grant Partnership.
So tonight is a Santuit Pond night. Next, we're going to be talking about a funding opportunity. We're looking for federal funding through the 319 program. And I have Jason Stiting, the tribe's natural resource director here, along with TRC, which is the engineering firm we're working with through the EPA and the SNEP network. And I'll let them take it away.
Good evening. Again, Jason Stiting, Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe Natural Resources Director. So as Ashley was stating, we're looking to submit an application for 319 NPS grant. And essentially, we're here tonight to solicit a letter of support as well as a letter of commitment. Do you want to speak to the commitment and how that works?
Yeah, so the tribe is looking to utilize a look back, which is a matched look back program that the Federal Clean Water Act does allow. And they would like to look back at the funds received through the MVP program. So the town has previously been awarded and paid cash match is what they can consider as a match look back. And that quantity or amount is $228,000 that they were looking for to use as a match look back in the application process.
And so these are a lot of the folks who have been working with us, as previously mentioned, on this MVP project, as well as who will be working with us during this 319 application. We're in a really weird spot. The tribe, we don't really own any land. We've got little pockets here and there of trust land. So typically, it's very difficult for us to apply for certain grants, this one included. That's why we have to and recognize and understand the importance of these partnerships. We couldn't do it without these folks, and it's how we have to really run business, and Dave can attest to that. So this funding that we're seeking for FY25 in partnership with all these folks, we're going to use, again, go after a nutrient inactivation application, which we believe will limit nutrient availability and thus obviously eliminate the algae and cyanobacteria blooms in Santua Pond, which everyone here knows is a huge issue. So where does the phosphorus come from? Well, the town actually did an ACOM study at one point, and in that study, it was identified that most of the phosphorus is existing in the pond right now in the sediment. Right. That's where 78% of it comes from. It's already in there. Okay. So then you've got the anthropogenic or human input of the nutrient phosphorus, which is the major issue on this pond. Again, phosphorus loading from that ACOM report shows that 78% in the pond now. 13% of it is coming from stormwater runoff, which we just sort of touched on a little bit. You've got fertilizer discharge, land use practices. 5% is from septic, and 3% is from agricultural operations, which include cranberry bogs, which do ring certain areas of that pond. And I won't get into too much detail. We've gone through this quite a bit in the past, but obviously Santua Pond, it's a cultural resource within town, which is used by many for fishing. When I was growing up, you could swim in it. It had sandy, clear bottoms. It's a cultural resource. It's very culturally significant to the tribe. We had our Indian meeting house on the shores of that tribe 400 years ago, and it's where our sachems used to meet. And I could bring in an entire community in here and talk about stories of what that pond means to them and has meant to them over the years, and now it's dead. So obviously, clearly, there is a major issue with that pond, as we all know, and I won't beat that dead horse much longer. So most of the phosphorus is, again, in the pond, right? So what does that mean? You've got to deal with the exterior elements of it. And they are being dealt with. The external issues are being dealt with. And we've been working with the town, and as Eric mentioned, with a lot of other folks on this for quite some time. So those are being addressed. Septic loading is now being addressed, as everyone here knows, right? The septic plan. Stormwater improvements and BMPs have been installed within the Santua watershed since the completion of the 210 ACOM report and recommendations made from the MVP program. The town's conservation department received funding to restore abutting cranberry bogs. And internal loading has not yet been addressed, other than the town's installation of the solar bees, which just can't handle the load right now. They cannot handle the internal load. It was a great idea, then they're just not working. It's too much of a problem for them. And obviously, because of that, that's why we're getting, once again, the blooms in the summer. Internal loading, multiple studies, no advancement. So again, I keep beating a dead horse. All studies verify that sediment has been and remains the primary source of pollution in this pond. For internal loading specifically, many studies have been conducted up to this point for potential remediation actions to address the sediment loading. All studies confirm that a majority of the phosphorus fueling these excessive algae blooms is coming from what's present in the pond. There has yet to be an advancement in addressing the internal loading. The tribe and the town have looked into the feasibility of dredging. We had the tribe entered into an agreement with the Army Corps years ago. We realized that that is just way too big a project right now. Would cost way too much money, and the sediment really can't be taken out because it's actually toxic metal. We've tried oxygenation, thank you, circulation with the solar bees, nutrient inactivation, and other non-traditional methods, yet there has still been no effective treatment applied to date. So what's the solution? Sediment-targeted nutrient activation. This has been commonly recommended through previous reports, although it has yet to be conducted. We believe, and we actually can confirm, that this treatment will address the phosphorus loading. It's going to reduce the likelihood of algae blooms, and it's therefore going to lower the risk to public health. Again, no or less exposure to the cyanobacteria. The treatment of aluminum sulfite or a like substance will address the internal loading, while the community also works to address the external loading in tandem. So again, there's no sense in attacking what's in that pond if you're not affecting what's coming into it in addition. And obviously, there's a lot of these things that are going on simultaneously, so that is a good sign. So if we can affect all those areas externally and internally, maybe we can finally get somewhere with this pond. It's a cost-effective approach, and it will last many years depending on future loading, land use practices, and timing of the sewering. This treatment, if our grant does go through, would be at no cost to the town or tribe. There's also support on this from state and federal levels, and obviously the tribe has voted on this. I think it's been at least a year now at tribal council and has approved this method. So a little bit about the application. So we're going to, again, partner with the town, the SNEP network, which is basically an EPA organization. We're going to apply for a federal funding to conduct this work through the Federal Clean Water 319 non-point source funding. The cost is projected to be $700,000. The vast majority of that is the actual treatment itself. But there is also a project evaluation that will go along with this. A QAP will be produced. The permitting and nutrient inactivation treatments, obviously. The application of the treatment itself, and there'll also be operation and maintenance. So it's not just set it and forget it. We will be going down and we will be making sure and testing the efficacy of the treatment. We don't just put it, set it and leave. We want to know.
How do you put it in the pond?
I'm not really sure on that technically.
Apply?
So, hi, I'm Jack Sispansky. I'm from TRC. And alum is usually applied as a liquid form injected into the water. It's monitored as it's being applied. So we will be monitoring the pH of the water, making sure that it stays balanced throughout the application as well. So that's something else.
Is there a big tanker truck that comes down and lets it in? I mean,
Well,
how do you
so
do it?
there will be tanks along the side of the pond.
Okay.
There will be tanker trucks that fill up these tanks. There will be a barge similar to the one in the photo on the bottom that will have a tank on the back, and they will be going in and out. I don't remember the exact volume that we would be using, but it's a lot. So, yeah. But it's also being spread out over 2 treatments as well. So, yeah.
And again, there'll be continual testing after
As
the
you're
treatment.
doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we'll be contracting for that. So if we get awarded this, we're looking at, as you can see, first treatment fall of 2025, with the second treatment the following spring. and this is just a summary slide, I'll just read through it really quickly. The external phosphorus is being addressed through significant investments in townwide wastewater collection and treatment, along with the additional installations of stormwater controls around Santuit Pond. They've already been discussed prior to me with the MVP project and a lot of what's going on. These investments will not eliminate the internal loading source. The internal phosphorus accounts for 78%, again, of the phosphorus source to the pond and has yet to be effectively addressed. Dredging the entire pond to address internal phosphorus is financially and technically infeasible based on the study that the Army Corps did for us several years ago. Sediment nutrient inactivation is the only viable option to address internal phosphorus and improve water quality at this point. Nutrient inactivation has been successfully implemented at over a dozen ponds on Cape Cod, so this is a proven technique. There was concern, I'm not gonna lie, at the tribal level, because we had never heard of it. And after speaking with folks who have done this treatment, speaking with people who are professionals, if you will, and scientifically trained in this treatment, I feel comfortable. I feel that our council is comfortable based on their vote and their support. So in summary, there's limited funding sources are out there to pay for nutrient inactivation. We can make it happen. Nutrient inactivation treatment is eligible for funding through the Mass DEP 319 NPS program, which is what we're talking about. So that's where we're hoping to apply to cover these costs. So we are here to request that the town of Mashpee partner on the 319 NPS grant application and provide us a letter of support and statement of match that includes about $228,000, which is really how Ashley just presented it. We've been working on this project for so long now that we can really kind of go back on those funds and use those as matching funds. So it's actually works in our favor in that regard. And, oh yeah, the application is due soon. So, it's due May 24th. Yeah, we've got a tight window here.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So, that's really all I have. If there are any questions, if there's anything technical, I probably have to refer to Jack, but we are here for questions.
And did I read that the combined alum treatments will reduce 75% of the phosphorus load? Is that accurate?
Is it
That's
75?
the intention, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Again, that's based on a number of
I
different
understand.
factors, but yeah.
No, I understand. Thank you.
And if I understand this correctly, you're looking for our authorization to support
To
your.
execute,
the
so that you're
town manager.
authorizing me to sign off.
Correct. So can I have a motion to authorize the town manager to support the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe's Natural Resources Department Federal Clean Water Grant Partnership?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Not hearing any. Michaela?
Yes.
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 David?
I'll recuse on this one.
And I'm a yes.
Appreciate it.
Go get it.
Great presentation.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right, thank you, I appreciate it.
Request of transfer of aquaculture license number 014 from Michael Ronhock to John Quinterio.
You have a seat, John.
Good evening. I have Chris Avis to discuss the next two items.
Gotcha, thank you.
Shellfish Constable, okay.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
File's getting smaller.
Are there any questions? I mean, I can do a brief overview if you want.
Yeah, real brief, just.
Sure. So back in, let's see, back in February 2024, the board relinquished Mr. Ronhock's grant, which is in Great River, number 1014. And John Quinterio had already applied for a grant in the Upper Great River. Unfortunately, Upper Great River. Unfortunately, the DMF closed that area. So we weren't able to give him his grant. So John's the next one on the board, on the, our waiting list to take a grant over. So this is a perfect opportunity. He's been with the Cape Cod Oyster for close to 18 years. He's been a resident for 8 or 9 years, I believe, John. And he really knows his way around. He really wants to get his feet wet and get some animals in the water. So I think this is a win-win,
So that means you has your support.
100%.
I don't have any more questions.
Yeah, he has 19 years of experience and has been on the waiting list.
It's actually,
Motion
it's
to-
actually 21.
There's an error here.
A motion to transfer the aquaculture license 014 from Michael Ronhart to John
I'll second that.
Cotero.
All right, we have a first and second. Any further discussion? Not having any?
Yes.
Kayla? Tom?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And David?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aquacultural
night.
grant application, Lisa and Joseph Bowenberger.
So what happened here was, they started the application process back in 2018. And as you know, what happened during COVID, there was so many delays on this grant, along with some medical issues that the family experienced. So what really happened here, nothing's changing. It's just they had to go through the process again because the application expired. So unfortunately, they've been in front of the Waterways Commission, the Shellfish Commission. We've already spoken to DMF. They're gonna go and do a bottom survey, which they have already done. This board, back in 18, approved the application grant for this area in Aquay Bay. So this is really unfortunate, but they're ready to move forward and they're plowing ahead. It's, you know, it was funny, it was the Army Corps of Engineers who actually looked at the date and said, oh, wait a second, this application expired, so they had to go back and redo the whole thing over again.
Start all
So we've
over.
been trying to fast track this,
And again, this is your,
100%.
does anybody have any questions?
No. A motion to grant the agricultural application to Lisa and Joseph Bowenberger.
Second that motion.
First and second, any discussion? Not having any? Kayla?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And David?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Good luck.
Congrats.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Public comment. Lynn Barbie.
Lynn Barbie, Surf Drive. My first reaction is I'm excited to think that actually someday one might swim in Santuit Pond. Anyway, but I would also like us to be able to visit the Wampanoag Village. And I was very disappointed that when you all had your executive session, you came out without a result. And I'm hoping that you can establish whatever that agreement is that you need to make, because remember, the people of the town voted overwhelmingly to support this project. And I've got friends all over the country that I worked with who come and visit me, and I would love to take them to the Wampanoag Village. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Arden Russell.
Good evening, Arden Russell, Sturgis Lane. I'm here tonight to share some good news with you. On May 6th, the town was notified by the Office of the Attorney General that the Community Preservation Committee did not, in fact, violate the open meeting law as alleged. The allegation goes back to September of 2022, when the complaint was initially filed. In September of 2023, the town received notice that the CPC had violated the open meeting law, and that determination was mentioned here publicly at a select board meeting upon receipt. So tonight, I'm here to set the record straight. That initial determination has been reconsidered by the Attorney General's office, and upon receipt of additional information and further investigation, they've been able to reconsider it and determine that, and reverse the initial determination, and determine that we did not violate the open meeting law. All the members of the CPC take the open meeting law very seriously. However, it would be in everyone's best interest, ours and all boards and committees, if we could have soon a training on open meeting law. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right,
Was that it? I'd like to step away and provide public comment, if I may.
sure.
Sure. So, at this time, I'd like to speak to the board as a member of the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe. And as a Mashpee Wampanoag tribal member, yesterday the tribe had an event that was hosted by STEEP. It was a STEEP program presented by URI staff, and it's in collaboration with the Harvard Chan School. They've been doing research on forever chemicals and PFAS, and they've worked with Ashley in the Natural Resources Department, both on the tribe side and town side, and they're looking at areas south of Joint Base Cape Cod, looking at forever chemicals, as they're referred to, PFAS and phosphorus. The presentation that was provided yesterday, there was a really good turnout. It might have been 75 to 100 people in there. I'm not sure. I didn't get an accurate count, so don't hold me to that. But folks from all over the Cape came. It was a really informative. They provided a lot of information. I would suggest that the town reach out to them. I have their contact information and stuff. It'd be really good to see kind of what's in your rivers. Some of the data was really alarming. The Quashnet River was the worst. That river, they said you only, the recommended consumption level is only one fish per month because of mercury levels. And there's elevated PFAS levels, and some of the species, it's making its way all the way out to the bay. So the board and other committees should really be informed as to what's going on in our environment. And I just wanted to bring that to the town and ask them to entertain bringing the presentation to the town and having it displayed for everyone to see and share. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Good idea, thanks, Dave.
All right. Turn the page, right?
New business.
New business, interviews and discussion with possible appointments to the Historic District Commission members. Vacancy, we have one member at large, one member resident in district, and 3 alternates. So, how do we want to look at this here? So,
Just for your info, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Shane Givens was not able to attend this evening.
okay. And if I'm reading this correctly, that's the candidate, the resident in district? Candidate?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So there's 3 alternates, and there's 3 alternates,
One at large and 1 resident,
right.
5 members.
But what are we appointing? So I see that 3.
Are we appointing all the members to this? Is this a new
All.
committee?
I think most,
Nobody's here. I've been on the committee.
Okay.
I just came to support somebody who I wanted a candidate. But we
Okay.
understood there were 2 permanent, and I'm not sure. Were you there for the, is it alternates? No. How did you understand it when you came?
John, can we,
What we have
sorry,
is,
1 second.
Shane Gibbons is a resident in district.
Okay.
So he can be appointed as resident in district. Then you have 1 member at large out of the 3 that are here that can be appointed, and then you have the alternates for the other 2.
That's it.
So you can appoint all of these people. It's just a decision on who would be the member at large.
Oh, I see.
The other 2 would, whoever the other 2 are left that are not at large would be the alternates.
Okay.
So the member at large is the full
Yes.
appointed, and the
Yes.
other two are the alternates.
Yes.
So we just have to decide out of these three candidates,
Which one's at
which
large?
two are alternates.
Yes.
Is that, everybody got that now?
Kinda.
So there's a full seated member, one of the three, and we have two at large. I mean, two alternates.
Shane should be appointed as a resident in district.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I'm
let's-
leaving, I'm just,
Okay.
only because
I just
that's,
didn't want you to forget him, that's.
Okay, why don't
Yeah, yeah.
why don't we do this?
let's take care of
A
Shane.
motion to make Shane Gibbons candidate for resident in district.
Yep. I was going to say you have comments. I don't know if we're clear.
I don't have a bylaw, no. It's their agenda, I only have their agenda.
So
Okay.
we're making Shane Gibson candidate for the resident for the district,
Yes, but we don't have 5.
appointing 5. Okay, so Shane is being,
So we have a motion, we have a first and we have a second to appoint Shane Gibbons as the resident in district. And there's no other candidates for that position.
right,
So-
apparently so.
Does anybody have any concerns or comments about suggesting that? No?
I'm thinking about process, and I'm not sure if I'm correct or not, so I'm asking this question. In the past, have we ensured that people have come in and that we've interviewed them? I think that's what we were following with Policy 1. I have no reason not to vote for Shane or to vote for Shane. I'm just wondering if we're following process. It's a
Yeah, I mean,
process question.
So he should be.
Yeah, I mean, well, we've appointed when there's no multiple people for a position. And because at sometimes, the way this was scheduled, they notified us that they weren't able to come in
Oh,
tonight.
I understand that.
And we have appointed in this past year, we've appointed a couple people that,
As long as if that's the process that we've followed and will continue to follow, I'm fine.
yeah, I mean, I think ideally, we'd like
Just
to,
asking about process.
does anybody feel uncomfortable about going forward with Shane Gibbons, and we could have them come in at a later date? I'm also thinking about from a committee standpoint,
Have you vetted?
We had an interview process, we did report
They should
cards and
Yeah.
everything.
It's on.
Go to the mic.
Okay, come up to the mic.
I'm sorry.
I see your evaluation form.
Yeah, so
Maureen
they're-
Paxton, Juniper Drive, and a member of the Historic Committee. Historic District Committee. We interviewed Shane as a committee. and we
Maureen, what is your position on the board?
I'm a member.
You're
but
just a member?
at large and have been on there for 3 years, I believe.
Okay.
So,
And we actually interviewed everyone, Shane, Kathy Loico, and then at a later historic meeting, let's see if their names are on.
Richard Nava.
These two people, yes, in the audience. We interviewed Kathy Loico and Shane first at the same time. They came first. And then at a later meeting, the other folks in the audience.
do you see Shane's?
Yeah? right
Yes,
here.
they're here.
Which,
Shane Gibbons?
no, I see,
Oh.
but I was just looking for
His valuation, yeah.
the valuation there. Do you see the valuation?
For me, I think, I see it. I think they all came highly recommend. I mean, I don't see anything that actually, people were contesting any of them.
No.
Right.
So, I mean, the only thing that I do see missing is the little table that we created.
Great.
As, that kind of consolidates the results. That's
If there's no
all.
right.
I mean, that's the only thing I see missing. Other than that, I mean, they are recommended. Seems like they were all considered
Right.
satisfactory.
All right, so we do have we have a motion and we have a second to approve Shane Gibbons as the resident in district. So I'll call a vote for that, and then Michaela,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. All right, so now the next question, and again, Miss-
I'd make a
Have her come up.
motion
She's
to.
here.
Oh.
Catherine's here, so she can come up.
Well,
Wanna
Going that
interview
one.
her.
yeah, if you, so we'll go one at a time. Catherine Lyko? Yep. How are you?
Good, how are you? Hello, everybody.
Can you just briefly state your interest for the position?
Yeah, I'm retired from the school department, 3 years now, and I just wanted to keep my foot kind of in the town a little bit, to see what's happening, and I thought this was a nice, slow way to start.
Okay.
To
Do you have
involved.
a preference to, I'm figuring, might as well, if we don't have to make any decision, as far as, do you have a preference as far as an alternate or just or a member at large?
Member at large is what I did,
You'd prefer?
I prefer.
Okay.
That's what I did.
I figured I'd just ask the question. Maybe
All
it'd
right,
make
that's
my
fine, John.
job easy.
Whatever makes it easy.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ava Costello.
It's Ava.
Ava, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Dave.
I should know that, Ava.
Yes, you
Sorry.
should. But it's late in the evening.
My apologies.
Apology accepted.
Just the same, just state your interest, and I'm assuming you'd be looking for the alternate or the member at large, you'd prefer?
Whatever I can do.
Oh.
Wherever you need me,
Okay.
okay? It's almost, I could go on forever about the Mashpee Historical District and Committee.
Well, I saw this and I thought there was two people more interested in this.
Well, part of it was, when Brian was looking for people to come and he wasn't having anyone, I said, well, Rich and I had the same conversation. Well, we're doing so much now, and we're doing so much with them, you may as well
Join them.
up. Fill the slots, get the work moving.
That's good.
Well, thank you for your interest.
Makes good sense to me.
Wow, it's gonna be hard. And Richard DeSilva.
It's going to be hard, yeah, too.
How do you, can we add a position?
Thank you. My interest, actually, Brian Hyde is the chair of the district, and he's also on the commission itself, the Historic Commission. And we would hear a lot of him saying that they didn't have a quorum a lot because there weren't enough members. And this is a very important board. I mean, it protects the one historic district, that Mashpee has. So both Ara and I, we wanted to become a member so that the board would be able to meet and take necessary steps to preserve and protect that district. So I'm on it because I would like to be on it to fill whatever position that was there. If it's an alternate, that's fine. I also think that it's very important on this board and Historic Commission, any board that's dealing with the history of town, that we have proper Wampanoag representation on that board as well. And I would strongly encourage that before my own candidacy on that. Just real quick, before moving to Mashpee, I was on the Historic District Commission, Historic Commission, Historical Society in the town of Medfield, and taught for 35 years U.S. history there. And I'm on the Historic Commission here, and I also serve as the one-room schoolhouse schoolmaster. So whatever, if any way that I can help, whatever position that is, would be fine.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you for all you do. Wow.
So there's
So-
one position
Member at
or
large
two?
and
So
two
this-
alternates.
One full member and two
Two alternates.
alternates out of the three.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to, I'm just going to do it the way it's here.
Thank you.
a candidate at large, Catherine Loco, and the two alternates would be
Ava.
Ava and Richard.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
I'll
Second.
second that motion.
All right, first and second. Any discussion? Not hearing any. Michaela?
Yes.
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 David?
Yes.
You're all
Yeah,
good.
yes.
Hey, thank
You know, thank you all for like making it easy, because
Thank you.
you guys do so much for the town. We're like, come on.
Thanks for stepping up.
Poor Peter's.
And they had to wait all night for that. A discussion approval of the following temporary sign permit, Falmouth Rod and Gun Club yard sale.
Oh, this is one that we do every year.
Yep.
A motion to approve sign permit for the Falmouth Rod and Gun Yard Sale.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? Not hearing any. David?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Kayla?
Yes.
All right.
And now Peter.
And, yep, Peter. One-day liquor license, Knockabout Beer Company LLC, Knockabout Garden at the Commons, 5/24 through 7/7/2024. Peter Murner.
Peter Murner with Knockabout. So thank you for having me tonight. So to refresh everyone's memory, last year we entered into an agreement with Mashpee Commons to utilize the upper area across from the library, commonly known as the Green, to have a beer garden where we could have support their ongoing programming, movie nights, their different activities down at the bandstand if we expanded down there, but really focusing more on that upper area of the Green. It was a success, so this year we've applied for a permanent license with the ABCC that is still being processed. So I was hoping to be able to say tonight that I had it in hand, but I don't currently have it. It should be issued before the end of June, so the 29 days that I've requested are basically a bridge based on their timeline that should be able to get us to when I will have that annual permit that would come to you guys, go to the ABCC every year for renewal, just like we do with our current pouring permit. So some of the updates from this year, just so you guys can get a sense of it, to remind you, we have a fenced-in area that is in the Green across from the library. When there's a programming down on the stage below, we have a satellite serving area that gets put into place, and that area becomes enclosed as well, and our management of the area extends down to that. We have wristbands. All guests that are 21 that are going to be purchasing alcohol are wristbanded and carded so that we can identify who is properly drinking and consuming alcohol and who isn't. We have all of our permits this year in place with the health department, and any conversations with neighbors and the commons itself have happened to ensure that everyone's on the same page. We've moved forward with shrinking the area that we're going to be using on the Green across from the library, pulling it back towards the asphalt for a more permanent setup. And then when they need us to expand for, say, the movie night, when they put their big blow-up screen, we would then add additional fencing to enclose that area, allowing the Green to be more used more regularly for folks not having to feel like they have to walk over any sort of fencing that's associated with the ABCC rules of being kind of enclosed. So that's really the update. I was hoping not having to come in to ask for this, but I'm happy to do it and to answer any questions you folks have to make sure everyone's comfortable. But I'm hoping that next week or the week after I have the ABCC's permit, and I've worked with Stephanie and the select board office as well as the health department on that permit, because it's basically a tag on to our license that we have as a food establishment.
I don't have any questions. If anybody, did anybody have any questions?
You did
So
a great
assuming
job
this
last year.
approval, if approved, it would be contingent upon his ABCC.
Yeah, so these permits are basically a bridge to get us to the ABCC's permit comes. So there's 21 single-day permits, really targeting the weekends between now and the 4th of July, to get past the 4th of July, so that we can be operational during those Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, when the folks are going to be coming to the Commons, and really getting us to that summer season. So we might not even need these in a week or two, and we might just be using our ABCC permit that we would have that allows us to then work with private pieces of property. Like you might hire someone to come to your house and have a catering event and serve alcohol. So that's the sort of permit we've applied for that would allow us to do that.
Okay.
A motion to approve one-day licenses for Knockabout Beer Company LLC Knockabout Garden at the Commons,
I'll second
May
that.
24th through July 7th, 2024. Peter Muner.
I'll second that motion.
First and second, any discussion? Not hearing any? Michaela?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Thank you, appreciate it, folks.
Congratulations.
You're welcome. You did a good job out there last year.
Yeah, last year was a great venue. Town manager review and process of request of qualifications for town council legal services.
Yes, in your packet. Yes, in your packet, you should see outline the request for qualifications. I just want to point out to the board that it was sent to the Massachusetts Municipal Lawyers Association. It was also sent to firms that specialize in providing the services that we're seeking, including Galvin and Galvin out of Duxbury, KP Law, which is technically out of Boston, Murphy, Toomey, Hess, and Lehane out of Braintree, and Mead, Telemann, and Costa out of New Bedford. And at this particular time, we're just waiting to get all the information in. If hypothetically, we had 4 firms respond, do you want to see all 4? Or do you want to see 2? Or do you want to see 3? Or do you want to just see the answers to the questions and then go from there? Because the only thing I'm going to caution the board on is we are running out of time, and the window is tight. Because technically, council is done July 1st, although he has assured me he's not going to completely abandon us if we have something, but that is his timeline for retirement.
I'd be okay with just seeing answers to the questions and having a meeting to discuss. What do you?
Do you want to see a representative from the firm in person, or do you want to see their answers, or do you want to see both?
For me, the materials submitted initially, and then I guess we go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be good with that, too. I mean, I think potentially bringing someone in from all the firms, I mean.
I'd
Well, at
rather
least in-
see what their answers are first.
Agreed.
And then,
And then,
I'm assuming you'd have a recommendation as well
right.
after.
We'll certainly seek out any answers to the board's questions. So my suggestion would be to bring the material in if that's what you want, and then review it and discuss it, and
then
give me
bring-
some specific direction on who you're leaning towards or what questions you have.
Yeah. See, I'm comfortable with you. I'd like you to do the interview and listen to the presentation and bring it forward to us, because you're better at that than us. Whatever recommendation that you think, to me, would be enough for me to make my vote.
Why don't I do this? Why don't I bring all the material into your next meeting, and then you give me some direction in terms of which way you're leaning, or or who you have some specific questions for, and then we'll go from there. Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
Yes?
Yes.
Good to me.
Sounds good.
All right, that's. All right, so discussion and possible action relative to sending a letter of support for the Joint Base Cape Cod Rail Service and Bourne Pedestrian Trail. Is anybody, in this specific request, I'm all in favor of support, but
As
just
am I.
for discussion, is anybody opposed?
I'm not opposed at all. Could we have some background to what generated the need or the desire to send a letter of support? And also, are Sandwich and Falmouth writing letters of support, or we might not even know this? So a little more background would just be useful to me, and I'm supportive. I'd just like to know more.
I I think Sandwich already did, right? Sandwich already did.
Sandwich did. That's why this is in
Falmouth,
front of you.
I think-
Falmouth, I'm not sure of.
Okay.
But I believe that's imminent.
It's in process, because I know at the commission meeting, we didn't talk much about it because it broke off into the housing discussion, but I haven't heard anybody, against the rail, but.
I haven't either.
So are we looking for a motion to support? Can I have a letter? Can I have a board to vote on? There's no letter to,
Yes, there's a letter.
oh, yeah, it's right there.
There's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
letter here.
It should be.
Yep.
Yes, there is.
A motion to support and send the letter to support the Joint Base Cape Cod Rail Service Bourne Pedestrian Trail.
Second.
All right, first and second, any discussion?
I just have one comment. Conceptually, this is fine, and I, again, fully support it. It's a draft, right? So there'll be edits just to clean up some of the grammar and sentence structure, just to improve readability. So, I understand. I mean, I do that with my own work, but I just didn't want to approve this letter. Just a general edit.
I didn't write it.
So with Mr. Collins once over?
Yeah, we'll
Yeah, just a,
we'll get it squared away.
yeah, just a quick cleanup like we do with, like you do with anything, you're right.
Did I call a vote?
No, you haven't.
Michaela?
Yes.
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 Carol? David?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So that's that. Discussion and possible action relative to Joint Base Cape Cod Machine Gun Range. We also have a template in there, so that's that one.
You should have received an email with a large package. We didn't print that out only because there was so many pages. Obviously, if you want it, we do have a package here. But you should have received a hard copy of one email from Mr. Gottlieb, and then another email from, I forget who it was from the base.
Kathleen Kolova,
Yes.
Community Relations Specialist. I like that she responded with a response to us.
And there's a bunch of other letters
Yes.
and emails and actually in support. So there's all, my position, I don't want to penalize the base for training our members of the service and for, they made mistakes in the past, but, they're held to, regulations and safety and DEP, and, I mean, they can't, if they can't do what they did before, then, and again, I'm not in favor of limiting training to our military personnel, and I think that's what, standing in the way of submitting a letter against, continued training for the military. I personally don't support that, but,
May I?
oh, absolutely.
Okay. I fully support training our military and all of our military. To me, that's not the issue at hand. I think the issue at hand is ensuring that we fully protect our aquifer. And my understanding, as I went through all the documents, is in 2001, there was a memorandum of understanding, and the National Guard agreed to honor EMC's determination about the compatibility or incompatibility of that northern 15,000 acres in order to ensure permanent protection of the drinking water supply and wildlife habitat. I bring both of those up because it's written in that way. What's happened is the EMC, who has total authority, is waiting for the EPA. The EPA has provisional provisionally issued, or issued a provisional decision about the adverse impact on the water and public safety with continuing this work. This new gun range increases the output of ammunition 4 times. And we know the problem that we're dealing with already in the contamination. I think the purpose, or I shouldn't say I think, the purpose of this letter is not to, and it's not to call for a full stop. Rather, it's to call for the Guard to follow what they agreed to in the 2001 MOA, to wait for the full determination of the EPA so EMC can issue a decision. So I don't think it's a matter of supporting our military or supporting clean water. It's a matter of ensuring that children and everybody is going to have water to drink here for years. As I went through, here's some of the concerns. And so I'm not sure how to pronounce this chemical that's being released. I think it's antimony, but don't hold me to that, which results in an increase in cholesterol. There's chromium, which results in allergic dermatitis. There's copper, which causes gastrointestinal distress. There's lead, which, think back to what lead in water does, results in the physical and neurological development in children, has adverse effects. And then there's manganese, which has neurological effects on all the residents. So I agree with, after reading all of the EPA materials, I think it's hard not to agree with APCC with regard to waiting until we have all of the information and ensuring that we're protecting the water supply. And that's the issue at hand. You know, there was an MOU signed. I think we need to stay with that MOU. There are additional concerns with the operating, and I've got OMMM. So it's operating maintenance and I think monitoring system. That there's no commitment to regular bullet retrieval, there's an inadequate media modeling, there's insufficient best management practices to measure, I believe, the release of contaminants. So we're looking at an unknown, and to move ahead without having the full report of EPA is unconscionable. So I fully support writing a letter to that effect.
And again, our recommendation or non-recommendation of support or non-support, for me, I look at that as, they still have to, you know, federal approval and the whole thing. They still have to follow guidelines. They just can't say, I'm gonna put a range in and.
Well, they're not following guidelines. They are sidestepping the EPA, which is not following the guidelines to which they agreed. The EMC can't make a decision until they have the full report of the EPA. And the EPA, they're asking for this to go through without that. So they're moving it, I believe, from a state decision to a federal decision, usurping the authority of the EPA. I think what a letter from us does is say that until we have all the information upon which to make a thoughtful, scientific-based decision, that we as a select board are voting to or want to protect the water supply of Mashpee and for Mashpee residents. That's what I think we're being asked to do.
For me, I have to agree. I think I did read through the information APCC provided via email. I would like for all that to go into the record so that the record encompasses all the information that we were provided. And for me, you know, we can't, there's a couple basic issues. Something this size and scale is just not a good idea on Cape Cod. At what point do we put the environment first and recognize Cape Cod's a unique environment? You have pervious sands that drain at excessive rates. That's the problem. Everything comes back to that. You're on a sandbar. That you have to recognize that. That's the highest point on the sandbar. So everything up there is going to leach down and it's going to go everywhere else. We're experiencing that with the phosphorus. I mean the nutrient loads and all the chemicals that were dumped up there over the years, that it's taken them 35 years to get it down below the levels. They're still filtering it. There's still filter pumps that they're chasing the plumes around all over the base because it moves, right, in the lens. And so with that, I mean, it's just been brought down from, it's no longer a Superfund site per se, but it's still an environmental justice area. So how do you consider putting something else over there when you haven't finished cleaning up the first problem? Then you have the leaching of the forever chemicals going into the waterways, and, you know, their initial response was like, you know, they weren't gonna aggressively go after it and clean it up. I think they're dialing that back now, but I mean, you know, we're having to fight with them to clean up the waterways, and we still don't know what the effects of that is. They call them forever chemicals for a reason, you know, so you have two contaminants already. 20 years ago, they said the fire suppression foam was good. Trust me.
I know.
And now, and they were saying, and then 50 years ago, 60 years ago, they were saying it was okay to bury chemical barrels all over the base and do everything else they were doing. And so now they're coming to us and they're telling that this gun range is safe. We've taken all the necessary precautions. Trust us. They're not drinking the water. I mean, it's a sole source aquifer. We're drinking from the same bucket. Just on that merit alone, it's just a bad idea. It's perfect. The sands are excessively drained soils on Cape Cod. You don't have that across the rest of Massachusetts. So just on those merits, you know, the other merits that were brought up, you're circumventing the process by saying, because there's a sunset clause on the funding, you know, we're gonna go forward with the project and move forward just so we can start it. You know what I mean? But the EPA said, they stated, it's not often that they come out and stick their neck out like that and say,
No,
you know,
I
you
know.
cannot definitively say the sole source aquifer is not going to be impacted. You can't say that. They hardly ever go that far. And for them to do that, that's telling. You know, but at the end of the day, the state owns the property, and they have a responsibility to protect the residents around the base at the end of the day. And for the government to just move forward, the federal government to just move forward on a lease and say, you know, we're just going to move forward and not follow due process and everything else, that's not right. That's not right. It's wrong, and this should be put somewhere else off of Cape Cod. It's a horrible idea. I fully support our military men getting formally trained and meeting all the protocols to send them over there prepared.
Somewhere else.
I just don't, it's not appropriate on Cape Cod. With all the other environmental issues that are going on, this is just a horrible, I don't know whose bright idea it was, but it's a bad idea from the start.
So well said, but so here's my question. Because we don't have, and I don't believe that a couple more weeks will make a difference, correct? As far as I know, we're talking, I mean, they're not gonna put a shovel in the ground in the next couple weeks. My question is, we don't have the letter here that we're approving or recommending. And I think if we did, so what I'd like to do is, if you're okay with this, rather than call it to a vote of a letter that it's not in front of us.
We haven't seen yet.
It's not in our packet. We did get in our email, but if we can have it in our next meeting, then we can just have this brought back up on the agenda. So then we can say, okay, we're recommending this letter, or there could be some modified changes, because in the letter, if it says, and, you know, we don't recommend moving forward without getting, you know,
The EPA's.
EPA's approval prior to, something like that, I totally agree with what you're saying.
It's the entire process, so it's not just the EPA, it's EMC and following the process. So I do understand what you're saying.
You know, because we can keep on talking about it, whether pros are for it or against it, but we don't have anything in front of us that we can actually vote to approve, right? Unless I'm wrong. Do you know what I mean? We don't have the letter in our packet or in front of us that we can, yeah, I think you made that point to begin with, Dave.
I mean, there's something suggestive in the back of what APC's actually asking, the request. APC's request for action by the EMC. I mean, there's that.
Is that the
There
letter
should be
they
bullet
want?
points there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's bulleted, you know what I mean? There's items 1 through 4 and it's bulleted. I mean, that's something actually in front of us now.
I mean, I think the points are, it's an ill-conceived project for the hydrology of Cape Cod, for our soils, that the process hasn't been followed. And that we need to at least wait for the process to go through, and be assured that we're not subjecting all of the Upper Cape to water that's too contaminated to drink. I think that's really important.
So
I don't see the bullet points. Where are you?
It's the second to last page. I think it's, if that's what you're referring to. But I'm just questioning, are we suggesting we just recommend a letter of against?
Well, the first thing, I guess, is just give me a consensus in terms of what the board wishes to do. I think I'm reading you correctly, but I don't want to jump to any conclusions. And then, assuming I got a consensus, can draft a letter, bring it right back to June 3rd?
Yes, sir.
June 3rd.
Okay.
Are you good with that? I mean, I just hate to, because otherwise we're talking about cut and pasting.
No, I understand.
some
I
bullet
understand
points.
that.
It's kind of hard to. Listen, you both of you spoke, listen, you may have convinced me to change my.
And myself as well. You
So-
did a great job.
You did a great
You
job.
really
So I'm not saying, I don't want to stop you from talking. I hate to not have a letter to
I
actually
understand.
prove.
I would suggest, if the rest of the board concurs, that we look at the letter that was sent by APCC. I think they make really important points, and not that we send that letter, but I think that provides a model.
And can we authorize the town manager to get that?
I'd rather bring this one back,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
so you're clear that you're comfortable with it.
Okay.
That's fine.
Everybody
And-
good with that?
Can I just say, I, last summer, made plans to be out of the country, so I won't be here on June 3rd. Once I see the letter, I know I can't vote, but is it okay with the board if I submit my comments to be read?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We good with that, Dave?
I am.
Well said, by the way, seriously. All right, so that is going to be carried over to our next meeting. Old business, additional topics, liaison reports.
I have a few. I don't know if other people want to go first.
It's all you.
Okay. The Assembly delegates have drafted a resolution to use $3 million of surplus funds for a water quality stabilization account. So, and the use of that will be determined by need. So that's going to the commission. As you know, an ordinance has to come back from the commission, but the Assembly delegates have asked to move that forward. So that would be, some amount of money that could go to take care of some of the water quality issues that we're facing. It might add additional funding to the Aqua Fund. It might serve as forgivable loans to people who can't afford loans. That's all up for discussion, but $3 million is being asked to put in a surplus. As liaison for the tribe, I want to echo what David pointed out with regard to yesterday's workshop. The workshop was advertised. It was fully available, open to the public. It was a really important workshop. There's a film that's been put out on YouTube, The Poison Within Us, that focuses on PFAS and the amount of PFAS that we all have with our bodies. I, too, think it would be benefit everybody to see or have a presentation by the same group. Yes, it was well attended. The Chamber won the Cape and Islands Workforce Development Something Award for the work that they've been doing. It's Cape and Islands Workforce Investment. So they received an Outstanding Economic Development Partner Award. Working with Sandwich with regard to the Papaneset IMA, the wastewater superintendent has presented ideas of looking at the Pimlico Pond area in conjunction with Mashpee and Sandwich to explore different options. And that's still at talking stages. As I know more, I'll bring more to this board. And Harbor Management has completed the review of another section of the Harbor Management Plan, making steady progress. I assume that will be ready soon.
Any liaisons?
Charter review, there are some things happening with the charter review. I think we're considering pushing out the deadline, the anticipated time where we're going to bring it forward. I don't believe we're going to have it ready for the fall meeting, so we're looking at the spring meeting for 2025. It'll give us enough time. I got to say, the committee's going through it and doing like extensive due diligence and really putting a lot of thought and effort into every decision, every discussion.
In every chapter.
In every chapter. I mean, they're really putting in substantive work. They are making progress, but I think there's some questions that developed as a result of some of the survey questions, and I think we want to take time to provide public opinion and get additional feedback and clarity on some of the questions that were developed as a result of the survey, and to provide additional direction. And I think we're looking at a couple different ways of doing that. Some things we may put to the town meeting. Some things we may even decide to put towards a ballot question, if that's viable, to get community input. You know, with a presidential election, that would be a good way to gauge, you know, the sentiment of a huge majority
yes.
of the town residents and constituents. So I think between town meeting and the election, there's opportunity to engage the general public in the process in a way that I think is worthy of exploring. And the chair, John Miller, is doing a great job at facilitating dialogue. Everyone's working really amicable, and I think it was pretty much full support to extend the deadline and take that path forward. So that's, things are moving along. Maytown meeting, we should have something. I think that's enough time to do what needs to be done and get something set in stone and to put in front of the town. I think that's all I had.
I got a quick one, Joint Base Cape Cod. The meeting was basically focused about 99% on the housing and the 200 acres. It seems like they've taken a bunch of steps backwards and said, hold on, we need to have a master plan now. The October, November timeframe of RFPs is not even a discussion now. In mass development, the whole team that started the conversation at the previous quarterly's meeting has been removed. So I think mass development had a lot of changing of leadership. So that's to be determined, but at the next meeting, and there'll be further discussions about the 200 acres plus other parcels, because there are other parcels that could be subdivided up. Most of them are within the Bourne town area. That's like the northwest.
Yes.
Up in Bourne. So, that's it. Water quality updates, I think we got a lot of quality. You have another one?
I have a really important one. The Department of Environmental Protection on May 15th issued a notice of availability for the submission of, I'm calling them PEFs, project evaluation forms. If you remember last summer, we got a really late start in submitting a PEF. We were able to finish it with GHD, but it came right down to the wire. What a PEF does, just to refresh everybody's memory, is it puts you in the queue for being able to apply for an SRF loan. It doesn't obligate the town to apply for a loan or to spend any money. We have no obligation whatsoever. But if we don't submit a PEF by July 26th, we have a dead stop to receiving any SRF funds for additional work. So I think it's really important for us to start thinking about this now. Again, to miss a deadline, to meet the deadline, submit a PEF doesn't obligate you at all. To miss a deadline completely eliminates you for any attempt to get SRF funds for next year. So if we decided to go forward with another phase of the sewer, and we don't need to decide that now, this puts us in the queue to be able to do that. So it's a no risk. Again, that's for the 0% interest, and also the Cape and Islands Water Protection Management Fund is still looking at 25% forgiveness. And I don't think the Water Protection Act has changed. In addition to that, the Cape Cod and Islands Water Protection Fund Management Board is reaching out to towns and asking if towns could send projections for what they might be applying for within the next 5 years. The goal of doing that, again, does not obligate us to do anything, but it puts the Cape Cod Commission in a position where they have an update of anticipated projects so they can assist the fund in projections. So those are two really important things. I'm wondering if, given the quick turnaround for the PEF, if this board could authorize the town manager to look into, have discussions with the wastewater superintendent and staff he feels is appropriate to bring them on board with this to start, so we're not behind the 8 ball. Again, the deadline is July 26, 2024.
I don't see any reason why not, right?
Make a motion to pursue and submit a PEF or take any other action relating thereto.
And authorize.
And to authorize the town
And
manager.
to authorize me.
What's that?
And to authorize me.
And to
And
authorize
to take
town
no other
manager.
action related thereto.
Sounds like a true article. Yeah. If you're going to take a vote, just
Has
a
to be on the
technical
agenda.
standpoint, I would add
Can
it
I have a
to the
motion
agenda.
to add the July 26th PEF to the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 So,
Now
now,
authorize.
David, your recommendation, take no other action related thereto?